Forum, sponsored by the Gazette in Stillwater. My name is Cindy Westrup, and I am from Stillwater. In alphabetical order, the two candidates running for this mayoral office are Mary McCumber and Mark Swenson. Matt DeBow, the managing editor of the Gazette, has provided me with some of the questions that I will ask. Matt will be writing up your responses, which will appear in the newspaper later this week, as well as online. During this 45-minute forum, you are both invited to give prepared 1.5-minute opening and 1-minute closing statements. Up to 2 minutes will be allotted to answer questions. I may use moderator discretion to lower that time depending on the question or in order to get more questions asked. However, I will announce any time difference in advance. Also, I will allow 45 seconds in rebuttal time to a candidate if I feel it is justified. You are allowed to utilize a pen and empty notepad to jot down ideas for your responses. Beth Johnson of Oak Park Heights will be the timekeeper. She will hold up cards representing the remaining time you have in your response. When you see the stop card, complete the sentence you might be in the midst of. Beth will yell stop if you go beyond that. Please be respectful of the time limits. A coin toss prior to the forum was won by Mark Swenson. He chose to do the opening first and the closing last. Let's begin the 1.5-minute opening statements with Mark.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank the moderators for taking time out of their day to perform this. It's very much appreciated. My name is Mark Swenson. I've been in the St. Croix Valley for pretty much all of my life, born up in Taylor's Falls area, and my wife Terry and I have lived down here for 37 years now. I work at Anderson Windows. I've been here for 38 years now. I get 258 more days till I retire, so I'm looking forward to that. My wife Terry, she's an autism coordinator for the Stillwater School District. We've got two grown sons, Andrew and Adam, double A's. They both live in the valley here also. My job at Anderson Windows is a production supervisor. I'm responsible for roughly 60 people on a day-to-day budget and keeping the people motivated and happy. I was on the Oak Park City Council for 24 years prior. I took the last 2 years off, and I want to get back into the political arena again. I really enjoyed it. I was a member of the Bayport Fire Department for 25 years, 15 of which I held a command position. The last 3 were the chief, so I had the chief's position with that. I'm running for mayor because I'm very good at dealing with people. I'm good at building up teams. I've got a good rapport. I have good management skills, and there's a lot that I can bring to the table. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Mary?
Hi, I'm Mary McCumber. I'd like to thank Cindy and Beth and Mark for hosting this tonight. I'm seeking re-election for Mayor of Oak Park Heights. I've been mayor for the past 8 years and served 12 years on the council prior to that. My husband Don and I have lived in Oak Park Heights for 26 years. We have 3 adult children, Lisa, Lauren, Brett, who all graduated from Stillwater High School, and 9 grandchildren and 3 bonus grandchildren. And our oldest grandson, who went to Stillwater schools as well, is serving in the Army, and he's stationed in Europe. I've enjoyed being on this council for all these years, have learned a lot, and have served on different commissions with the city, and then served in different leadership positions with the League of Minnesota Cities. I was president of Minnesota Mayors Association, president of Minnesota Association of Small Cities, and served on policy committees at both League of Minnesota Cities, Metro Cities, and at the national level at National League of Cities. I am looking forward to the questions tonight.
Thank you so much. Starting with Mark, what skills do you bring to the position of Oak Park Heights mayor that make you uniquely qualified to lead your city?
I think there's a couple that go with that. I'm going to take my outside experience with Anderson Windows. Running the city right now is kind of running any government entity right now. I think it has to be looked at more like a business, more so than it has in the past. With everything changing as fast as what it is, with the pandemic, with the social unrest, there is no given what's going to happen today or tomorrow. Keeping people engaged, the people being the citizens, your city staff, keeping the council actively engaged and forever changing, I think is going to be very important. That's part of the thing that I do every day at work right now, and I became very good at it. It's part of my job, and I have to do it. And I guess when you're forced to do something, you get really good at doing it. Then I go back to the fire department duties that I had. You learn to get a bond with the community. You get a bond with your different police departments, your sheriff's departments, your outside agencies, your city staff from just about all the other cities around. As chief, I was responsible for getting the boat going on getting the new fire station built in Bayport. I think that once we got the ball rolling on that, it was a lot of community effort that went through it, but it was a lot of driving, a lot of getting people involved and keeping people involved that made the difference. With everything that is going on today, strong leadership is going to be imperative with everything. When you look at what's going on at the federal level, at the state level, there's a severe lack of trust and a lack of engagement from the citizens because they feel that they don't have a voice, and what their voice is saying is not being taken seriously. I will bring that to the table where I will hold people accountable. I mean, I will build the teams up, and I will have the teams stronger than they've ever been before.
Thank you. And Mary?
Well, I think I bring the experience of being the mayor for the past 8 years in working with the hard things, and some of them have been extremely hard this year, especially with the COVID, civil unrest, and having to have really good communication with our police chief, with the emergency management systems and how we would react to things. As Mark said, it's really important to be a team, to represent our city solidly all together as one united voice. And that always has challenges in any team. We work really well together. We get a lot done. And I have the experience, too, with the team building, with being in those leadership positions with the League of Minnesota Cities and national level. And recognizing different personalities, and the personalities need to stay out of the discussions sometimes, because, as Mark said, things are getting way too personal at the national level and at the state level. And it's not about Democrats and it's not about Republicans. It's about what's best for our city and what's best for our residents. I know I can bring that to the table, and I think I've proven myself over the last 8 years by being a strong leader for our city.
Thank you, Mary. Mary, our second question will begin with you. What, if anything, makes your opponent less qualified than you to be mayor of Oak Park Heights?
I don't know that I would say Mark is less qualified, because we've worked together for quite, many, many years. And he is a really strong team builder. The only thing I would probably say is maybe not so much the experience at the city, not so much the city level, but at the state level. I testify quite often at the state and have a good relationship with different legislators and different organizations. And that takes time, and it takes a lot of going to different seminars, training sessions. By going to those training sessions, they're very good on helping me to be a better leader. And it's also meeting with others and sharing with other mayors, other city council members, learning from their cities what works, what doesn't, bringing back some of those ideas to our city. And that's something that just takes time. Some of those ideas we've already implemented at the city with some of the programs that we've had and different things. And some didn't, work out so well. We had a big push for splash pads. So I talked with all these different mayors. How does it work in your city? Well, it doesn't work for our city. But we have to at least try. And I think Mark can do that, but I don't think he has that level. He did have it at the city, though.
Thank you. And Mark?
Mary's comments are 100% correct. I'm the small city kind of guy. We're a city under 5,000 people. And I think, right now with everything that's going on in the world, a lot of stuff needs to be kept local. I think, the more time we spend building on local policies, local acts, local needs, I think we'll be stronger. We do need at, the state and federal level, without a doubt. I just think that's the next level of government that should be pushing that, where we kind of focus on what we've got with our city as a whole. Keeping everything local kind of keeps the citizens and the city staff engaged. I think the more you keep everything localized, I think you'll have a stronger city staff if you keep it at the local level, because sometimes when you get too big, your dreams get much bigger than what your city really has or can deal with, which can be a very good thing or it can be a very bad thing. It all depends on how you put it together. But that's when the leadership role comes in. You know, I'm very non-micromanageable. I have faith in my staff at work. I've always had faith in the city staff at Oak Park. I think they're probably some of the best staff that you could ever ask for. Mary and I had a similar informational meeting last night, and the moderator at the end, she says, "Congratulations, you two." That's the first time that Dave came up and said, "There's no arguing. You know, Mary and I get along. There's no hard feelings. There's no ill feelings." Which in local politics, that's what it should be. It should be everybody working together, keeping a common bond and a common connection. And my philosophy, keeping it simple, keeping it at home, and keep it in pace with the city is going to be the best action for now. That was quite a compliment that we got last night, and that is through good team building for a city council last night.
If I could just add one thing.
Okay, we'll give you 15 seconds.
Okay. There are certain times that we have to interact with the state and others, and some of it has to do with, say, the bonding bill that we were working on for Highway 36 in Mayoral, or with the Coalition of Utility Cities, and trying to get it into legislation for the renewable development for the King Plan. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Beth. I'm going to deviate from my questions just to respond to some of the things that you're saying. I hear that you complement each other very well and you've worked together very well in the past. Mm-hmm. Are there times, however, that you will find yourself as mayor where you have to put your foot down and you have to say, I can't agree with the council. I can't agree with the decision that's made, and I have to take a stand for something that I think is important for Oak Park Heights. And can you do that? Mary, we'll start with you.
I've just had to do that recently on several things. It's not always the popular thing to do. You know, the council sometimes will go one way, and I'll say, no, I don't agree, and I don't think this is the right direction that we're going to go. Ultimately, the majority does rule, and there's been several times it's been 4-1 votes because they didn't agree. But then I go home and I can go to sleep because I know that I made my speech on why I thought it wasn't a good idea. Or on the other case, it can be that I think it is a good idea and nobody else agrees with me. Those are not easy choices to make, but they're my choices. I have to live with them. And if I can't, I just let it go. And then let's move on to the next topic. Sometimes you can see where people will dredge things up and keep it going for months. Okay, the topic is done. Decision is made. Let's move on.
I'd like to give you an extra minute, if you will, explain to us a situation that you've come across. As you said, there's something happened recently where you had to disagree with the council. You had to take that leadership position and disagree.
Really don't want to talk about the one in particular because it's in negotiation type things right now.
Perfectly understandable.
I'm trying to think of what well, it could be, say, on goal setting. Let's set a time for goal setting, and I get nobody says anything. You know, okay, should we do it? Should we do it? All right, these are some dates. Sometimes you just have to say, these are some dates, look at your calendar, and then we'll see what comes up.
Okay. And Mark, we'll give you a minute and a half, too, to answer that same question. Can
you say that question one more time, please?
I'm not sure that I can, because it was kind of off the cuff. But
yeah.
I talked about how you're so cordial and you work so well together. And that's fantastic. But are there times as a mayor when you have to put your foot down and perhaps not be in agreement with the council, not be in agreement with others who are decision makers in your city, and be strong and even maybe very forcefully make a statement about what you believe is best for your city?
So the mayor in our city has no more authority than the city council members do. So it's not that you can override what they do.
Right.
You're one of 5 votes. I think, you know, when you look at it that way, it's, you know, it's how you bring a team together. You know, the mayor talked about, you know, the team building sessions. Team building is something you really have to walk with gingerly and tenderly, because you don't want it to come in with people with, you know, preset agendas. You want it to be, you know, what's on your mind, what do you want to do? And I think as a mayor, how you present it and how you bring it forward is probably the most important thing of having it happen in the first place. Part of the thing that I do at Anderson's, we set up little mini breakout sessions every other week. We'll go through, we'll talk about what we're going to do. We'll mark it down, we'll write it down, we'll document it, and we'll see where we go, and we'll plan, do, check, and act, and see to make sure that what we're doing is what we plan on doing, and that we keep moving forward with it. If you don't post that and keep that up to date, you're going to lose track of where you're at, and there's no measurable that you've got to see if you've made an improvement or if you've gone backwards. I think that's very important, and I think, a lot of times people forget to do that. As far as making a hard decision, I'm not afraid to make a hard decision, but I think when you can have the facts presented to you, how we act on it as a group, and how the mayor, as a moderator of that meeting, can control the conversations and the actions, I think that's how you can make the decisions that have to be made. So really, no decision should be that terribly hard.
Thank you.
If I could add to that.
Sure, okay, 15 seconds.
Almost all of our decisions, we get along so well. Most of them are pretty much all 5-0 votes. There really rarely comes up something that is difficult or is challenging, but every once in a while there'll be a bump. And then, like I said, with the team building, I had gone, okay, thank you.
Okay, for our third question, we're going to start with Mark. When it comes to city operations, are there any problematic issues within your knowledge that you feel the residents of Oak Park Heights should be aware of?
I do not. I think, the government's responsible for having safe water to drink, safe road to travel, having safety in your community, and having a sense of community. That's what we're elected to do, and that's what you should be charged with every single day. Our public works, our fire, our police, they're top notch. There's really nothing that makes Oak Park Heights the front news story of the day. It doesn't happen very often. I think within the next year, I think you're going to start seeing a lot of problems popping up. You can see a lot more homelessness coming up with COVID, with people losing their jobs, with the $600 stimulus disappeared. I think people are going to start running out of money. I think there's going to be desperate measures being taken by some, which, it's the nature of the beast that's going to happen. That's where we really need to make sure that our city staff has the trust of the council. There can be as much transparency as you could ever imagine in today's world. Giving them the tools that they need to be trained. There's a lot of classes, a lot of education that I think the council's going to have to push for to make sure that we stay ahead of the curve. Stillwater has seen a couple incidents with social unrest and the protesting. Oak Park has seen minimal. But I honestly think that it's a matter of time before something happens someplace. How you deal with it at that exact moment is going to be critical to make sure that the same thing doesn't happen that's happened in the big cities and Woodbury's and Edina's, where all of a sudden you get one flashbang and everything goes south, and there's nothing you can do about it. Preventing it and taking control before something actually happens is going to be imperative, and letting our city staff know that we've got their back and that we can trust them and they can also trust us.
Thank you. Mary?
Actually, our city operations, I'm really proud of the way it works. All of our departments all get along really well. Staff has a staff meeting every Wednesday morning where the department heads talk about what's going on in their departments and then bring it back to the rest of the staff. You can tell it works really well when my phone doesn't ring. I mean, every once in a while it'll be, somebody forgot my garbage. But in general, that things are going well when people are not complaining about it. I get more compliments when I run into people about the parks look great, the streets are plowed better than anybody else around us. As far as operations as well, I often joke that when employees come to work for Oak Park Heights, it's very, very rare for somebody to leave. When they come there, they retire there. And that's a sign that it's a really good working team within the building. And Mark was saying there's different things that obviously there's always room for improvements, whether it's trainings. Police department and others are probably going to have to go through more training with regard to social justice, mental health issues, different things that a lot of, it's called post-training that they will be going through. And those are just things that we couldn't have predicted that a year ago, but it's something that it's in the future, and we're going to have to keep dealing with that. Likewise with water treatments, Public Works does a really good job, and we have surrounding communities that are really concerned about their drinking water and things. Mm-hmm. They do keep really on top of everything. Our staff is highly educated, very dedicated, and I have no complaints.
Thank you. Well, you forced me to add another question because
sorry.
your responses are wonderful and thorough, and so I have a follow-up question. So I'd like to give you each 1 minute to respond, and we started with Mark, so I'll start with Mark again with this one. Does Oak Parkites have plans to address possible problems, Does Oak Parkites have plans to address possible problems resulting from COVID?
That's a tough one. I mean, not being involved with the city right now. Part of my action down at Anderson Windows, I'm on the COVID task force for the whole Anderson enterprise. That's every entity that we own. So I'm on weekly Teams meetings with Commissioner of Health from Minnesota. With all the facilities that Anderson's got, there's a constant threat of, basically the business shutting down, which happened down at our renewal plant in Cottage Grove, where they did get an outbreak and they shut down for 2 days. Going through and doing the planning, doing the temperature screenings, getting the scenario task force set up, the scenario set up, so we know exactly what to do just in case something does happen. That's something that I can bring to the table with that. I mean, there's been hours and hours and hours and hours of planning with division heads just talking about COVID-related issues.
Okay, and Mary?
The city's been really busy on the COVID issues. Police department has to have PPE every time they get in. They have to disinfect the squad cars every time they get in, every time they get out. Same thing with City Hall. Everyone wears masks. Everything gets disinfected. If you touch a doorknob, clean the doorknob. And then also with the COVID, we've worked with businesses to have grants. They could apply to the city up to $2,500 to help them out with any COVID-related expenses, giving them prorate on their liquor licenses for the times that they were closed. And also, if they were late on any utility bills, we waived those late fees. We've worked really hard this last year, but next year is the year that I'm really concerned about because they did get the money from the CARES this year, but there isn't that there next year, so there's going to be difficulties coming ahead.
Thank you. Our next question, we'll start with Mary. As a follow-up to our last question, what will you do as mayor to fix problematic issues within city operations? Now, I understand you said that we don't have problematic issues within city operations, but what will you do should any arise?
Well, there are certain things that have popped up, some being the fact that our camera equipment and things at City Hall. We've had to go to more virtual meetings, the Zoom meetings, and the equipment needs to be upgraded. I mean, that's one thing. Certain things that you can't even think right now what could be coming ahead, but there's a laundry list of different things. Air purifiers in the cubicle, they're not really cubicles, but the small offices for air movement. Trying to think of some other ones. But the biggest thing is we require masks when you come into City Hall. And even say for elections, it will be all distance. People have to wear masks. We've had to change the way things have been done in the past. And that's just some of them.
Thank you. And Mark?
I guess, one of the things that's going to keep changing every single day with COVID and with social injustice, with transparency with the community and with the citizens, we have to keep people involved more. I think that business as usual is no longer acceptable. Waiting for the paper to come out once a week and say what happened at the council meeting, I don't think that's going to be acceptable anymore. We need to find a way to get the community involved. How you do that is it'll be a learning lesson all the time. I know that the city's meetings you can look at them on the website, you can look at them as you want to, but I think when you don't know the questions to ask, I think that's probably the most important thing to put in front of the community is here's the questions that you need to ask and here's how you can get it. Giving it to them sometimes doesn't seem to work. I see that in my employment right now where the folks, they get scared about the COVID. They're not quite sure what to do, and some are way over here and some are way over here. Do I wear the mask? Don't I wear the mask? We just say, I'm just going to do what I want to do, and I don't think that's acceptable. But the people that are the ones that need to know, they don't know the questions to ask. But really, I think that if we put more information out, if we flood the people out there with information, we can start putting out a newsletter once a week and just put the small things that are happening, the businesses that are opening, the businesses that are closing. This is a business that might need help. this is how the citizens can help. This is what the city's doing for COVID. Just keep them more up to date, more often. I think, information overflow is going to be a must going into 2021. And I think it's going to have to be driven and changed daily. I don't think there's going to be anything that's going to be a given. I think it's going to have to be more. Is going to have to be more every day.
Thank you. Mark, our next question starts with you. Is there a project or some aspect of the city government that was, in your opinion, mismanaged? And is there something you could have done differently to achieve a better result?
So the 24 years that I was on the council before, went through a lot of different mayors, went through a lot of different administrators. And with that, you learn how to adapt, you learn how to change. There's a lot of good things that everybody comes to the table with something different. And when you learn how to grab the good stuff that person has to teach you and you have to take from them, you can also learn from the things that you don't quite agree with, whether they're right or wrong. It's things that you just don't agree with. So being different is not a bad thing at all. You're talking before about the 4-0 votes and the hard decisions. You don't always want to have a 5-0 vote. It's just, I don't think anybody's that perfect to have that. It's how you get to that position where it's a 5-0 or a 4-0 or a 3-2 or whatever the vote comes down to. I think that's probably the most important thing. But as far as something that really has to be fixed, I don't think there is. That's every department was run a little bit different. We've got one of the best administrators that I have ever worked with right now, Eric Johnson. Eric when he worked with me, I could never find a problem that he had. He gets along well with staff. He's a driver, and he's always there for what the community needs. When you look at what Oak Park has done, over the last 15 years with the bridge, with all the senior citizen homes that we've got, with all the road reconstruction, with all the job changes, with the St. Croix Mall going from a Kmart and a Walmart to Anderson Windows headquarters. The stuff is a huge undertaking for a city our size to hang on to. You kind of compare us to like a city like Brainerd, where you've got a population of 35,000, but in the summer you've got 750,000 people that are in the town, and that's kind of what we have with the prisons and the schools and Anderson's, 3M, with all the other businesses. But I don't think there's much of improvement we could do as city staff with city projects like that.
And you're not aware of any aspect or project that was mismanaged? Mm-mm. Okay, thank you. And Mary?
I can't think of any project that's been mismanaged. There's been plenty that have had bumps along the way. Mark referred to the St. Croix crossing. There'd be change orders and different things that would happen during the construction. There'd be people that were complaining about the vibrations when they were doing the pile drivings. We had reconstruction in some of our areas right about the same time. And there were things like, somebody hitting the water and there'd be the streets flooding, or the contractor would be running behind schedule. People would or they'd block a driveway and nobody could get in. So as far as mismanagement, I wouldn't say it was mismanagement, but more bumps with some of the projects that we've had. Nothing that couldn't be handled. Make you get a little headache about it and frustration. But as far as things moving forward on projects, we have a couple coming forward. One will be reconstruction of Lookout Trail, which hopefully will be next year. And then if the bonding bill ever passes, we'll get the intersection at Mayoral and 36 reconstructed to pull that frontage road back away from as close to the highway as it is. It'll be pulled back behind Panera and then cross over by Walmart into a roundabout. So it'll be much safer for drivers, safer for pedestrians. Those are the two big projects coming up in the next year or so. The big part depends on the bonding. I spent a lot of time at the legislature last year, testifying before the Senate and before the House to get Oak Park Heights included into that bill, which it is. We just need them to pass it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Can I add one thing on that project?
We'll give you 15 seconds.
So one thing that the mayor touched on, it was the Highway 36 project. That project was probably one of the most regional projects that you could ever possibly imagine, and the headaches and the heartaches were all borne by the city of Oak Park Heights. Everybody around us stood a lot to gain. We lost 100 homes.
Thank you so much. You'll have another chance to talk about the projects. Number 6, well, it ends up being number 8, but we're going to start with Mary. because we have so much to talk about.
Okay.
Now that the Xcel Energy has confirmed plans to decommission the King plant, what is your economic development plan to replace the tax revenue?
Unfortunately, we don't have one directly right now. We do have a advisory panel that has started a week ago. It's about 24 people on that panel. It's a good group to talk about what could potentially go at that site. Right now, the property is all owned by Xcel, so that's going to have to be a lot of communication between Xcel and the city and others as far as what their future plans are. And they are part of that panel as well. And as far as the rest of the economic development, Oak Park Heights unfortunately doesn't have much land left. We only have a few parcels that can be built for new commercial growth, and that's basically what we're going to be losing with the King plant, is our commercial tax or our industrial tax base. Right now, I sat on as a stakeholder on the Integrated Resource Plan, which is now before the Public Utilities Commission. They still haven't ruled on it yet, so right now it's 2028 for the closing. I don't see that date is going to change. There's been a couple of talks about certain things moving around a little bit ahead of that schedule, but the actual retirement won't happen till then. And to say retirement doesn't mean that it'll actually be gone right then. There's going to be the decommissioning, the deconstruction, and because of the proximity, it's going to have to be taken apart pretty delicately because of where it is by the St. Croix River. Other development that I've actually done myself, I've actually called other places like Chick-fil-A and Popeyes. Hey, we've got an empty restaurant. It's already set up for chicken. Would you like to come to our city? We do have some empty spaces that I would love to see filled. But with the COVID thing that's going on right now, we need to sustain the businesses that we have and help them out the best we can. But in the future, we're going to really have to look at getting some of those spaces filled.
Thank you, Mark.
I guess, when you talk about losing close to 30% of your tax base, you've got a problem coming down your back in, 10 years or whatever the time frame is. I think we really need to focus now on what we have today. There's going to be a lot of businesses that'll continue to suffer. When you look at, Joseph's Restaurant operating at probably 25% capacity, how long can you keep paying the high cost of a business, in that locale with 25% of your income? Club Terra, basically the same thing, only open a few days a week at 15%, and that's with outdoor seating. You can't keep going like that, and that's a tax base that we have today that has no plans of shutting down, that wants to stay open. You've got Kowalski's, you've got a lot of big things that are on the boards right now to happen. If Stillwater does build a Hy-Vee out at 36 in Manning, what would that do to our Kowalski's? I think it would probably be the end of Kowalski's, just because of the locale and where it would be at. So taking care of our local businesses, making sure that we've got a sustainable plan that we can help them with. When I talked before about not knowing the question to ask, I think that's where the city can be very proactive, where they can work with the business owners. They can talk to Joe from Joseph's Restaurants. They can talk to Phil from Club Terra, find out what we need to do to help them. What can the city do to help you, and what kind of condition are you in? We've got a lot of resources that are in our toolbox that that we can offer them, but they have to know the questions to ask to come help us. When you talk about businesses relocating, we've got one automotive repair shop that wants to build just on the south side of the Holiday gas station. That when you start promoting that kind of business that moves in, that's already in the city, that wants to build a bigger and better shop, we need to do everything we can to try to keep them in the city, find out what they need, what their wants are, and what kind of help the city can give them. But just keeping our local businesses operational is going to be imperative.
Okay, thank you. There are many projects in the works for the St. Croix Valley that deserve to be highlighted for your constituents. Our surrounding area, not just Oak Park Heights, but the surrounding area, is growing rapidly and has already seen some changes in traffic flow, traffic problems, and new business construction since the new St. Croix River Bridge crossing was completed. The first area I'd like to discuss is the Highway 36 Washington Avenue interchange, which Mary did allude to earlier, referred to earlier. And we're starting this question, with Mark.
So there are plans, there's...
I'm not quite finished. I'm sorry for interrupting you. I'm not quite finished. So, I just wanted to let you know that you're going to go first with this first question, and there are several here. The first question is, the first area I'd like to discuss is the Highway 36 Washington Avenue interchange. What, to your knowledge, is being planned to improve the traffic flow and safety at the Highway 36 Washington Avenue interchange? Specifically, will there be frontage road changes to eliminate the car backups and cars crossing lanes on Washington Avenue to make turns onto Highway 36 from all the existing Washington Avenue frontage roads? Is there an overpass or traffic circle in the interchange's future? And what do you expect these and when do you expect these changes to take place?
I know there's been a lot of planning going on right now, just reading through the council packets, moving the south frontage road. And remember, 36 in Washington is the city of Stillwater. Actually, 36, that intersection is all the city of Stillwater. When you get on the south side of the frontage road, then it's Oak Park Heights. So I know Oak Park has been very workable with the county and the state, trying to get projects and plans moving forward to try to get the traffic flow moving. There's a problem there. I think everybody, that was even before the bridge came through, that intersection has been a problem. Moving the south frontage road back around through the back, coming through the Walmart parking lot, I think that's going to become a reality, but it's going to take money from the state to make a project like that happen. You can kind of tie back into what I talked about with the Highway 36 project being a regional project. You're taking traffic off of Highway 36, you're dumping it into a two-lane road. You're expecting 2 feeder roads, Mayoral and Washington, Mayoral from the south, Washington from the north, to feed into Highway 36 and not have a problem. That's a problem all by itself. And that did not happen overnight. The increased traffic flow that we've got now is magnifying it, so you see it a lot more. Now when you see the traffic coming down the frontage road, trying to make that left turn to go either way on 36, you're just asking for trouble. And I think by moving that frontage road back to the south, it'll be a huge help. And I know the council's being very diligent right now trying to get that passed through. Okay.
And Mary?
We've worked on this for probably at least 3 years, but it actually was thought about way back before the construction of the bridge. The plan has already been drawn out. It's to pull the frontage road on the south side, pulling it back, as I said earlier. It'll go behind Panera, and it will come across where the entrance, that north entrance is by Walmart. It'll go into a roundabout. Both sides of the frontage road, both on the east and the west, will be discontinued. There will be new frontage road extensions that will come into Panera or Gardy's or Jerry's, the ones that need to have accesses to the parking lots. The city got a grant for $648,000. City's committed to $750,000. And the amount that's in the bonding bill is for $740,000. We can't complete the project without that $740,000 that's in the bonding bill, and that's what I was referring to earlier, that I was working with both our state senator and representative and with quite a few different legislators, and went on the bonding tour and actually had the Senate and the House so that they could actually come out here and actually see what we were talking about. Now, if we can get that through the bonding bill, construction will start next year. It'll take probably most of the year. Hopefully it'll be done before winter, but we know how construction season goes in Minnesota. But that's the plan on that. And as far as on the north end, early on we had talked with the city of Stillwater as one project. They were not ready to do their side, and there's also the issue with the Herbergers that's still there. There's ponding. So they weren't ready to go, but we were. And we needed to get that straightened out. One by one, we've been trying to work on the intersections. We did it with the Holiday when they decided to remodel it, so we were able to take advantage of it at that time to pull that frontage road back. And the same on the north side when Fury Motors came into that spot, we were able to pull that side back.
Thank you. Let's quickly talk about one other interchange that's really important, and then we will have to get to our closing statements. Specifically, I'd like to talk about the Highway 36 Manning Avenue interchange and the related projects. The details are important, so for those who are unfamiliar with the projects, I'd like to share some background information. A new overpass will be installed on Manning Avenue over Highway 36 beginning in 2021 and is planned to be completed in 2023. The new hospital is slated to be built on that northeast corner where the former nursery resided, but I don't have a construction date for that project. After the Manning Avenue 36 overpass is complete, Washington County is adding an interchange route from the Manning Avenue overpass that would run along Highway 36 as a frontage road, curve around behind Stillwater Motors, and the county would like to connect it with Highway 5 right by Stillwater Area High School. This Manning Avenue Highway 36 overpass will eliminate the stoplights at that intersection, which will increase traffic flow up and down Manning and 36. The intent is also to alleviate the lengthy backups in both directions of 36 as well. The interchange route, frontage road, is intended to direct traffic coming south and north on Manning off of Highway 36 and onto the new slower route. Students driving to the high school and other drivers heading to Oak Park Heights, Lake Elmo, 694, 494, and beyond will be directed around Highway 36 and potentially help to increase traffic flows. Increase a positive flow of traffic at the high school on school mornings. At Highway 5, there will not be a median installed that would limit access to area businesses or to the high school. The City of Stillwater has agreed to the plans, and the City of Oak Park Heights has not. And now for your question, and if you could limit your question to a minute each. Sorry that I can't give you more time. It will be very important to hear what you have to say about this. Do you support, or we're going to start with Mark, do you support the interchange frontage road connection from the overpass at Manning Avenue Highway 36 up to Highway 5 in Oak Park Heights? Why or why not? And if you do not support it, what will it take for you to support the project?
From what I've seen proposal, no, I would not support that project. Do you need a better traffic flow plan? Yes, you definitely do. That road would be a detriment to the business that we have right now in Oak Park Heights. It would be a detriment to Kowalski's. It would be a detriment to the gas station. It would be a detriment to Stillwater Motors. You're cutting off the access to some of the major taxpayers that we've got in the city for a county road. If the county would come back and ask us to pitch in money for that, I would say definitely not. I think that we need to come up with a plan where that is a regional project, that they can pay for it out of their money. They can make sure that we do not have any tax loss in the city of Oak Park Heights to put in a road that will be better. You know, everybody you mentioned, 694. It's not Oak Park residents that will be affected by that. It's everybody other than Oak Park residents that would benefit by that.
Thank you. And Mary?
That's one of the hot button issues with the council right now. The county has proposed extending that. Initially, when they had the plan, it said for future. Then it came that they wanted to extend it. There seems to be an assumption that the road is going to be built strictly for the high V as opposed to access for others. I look at it a little differently than Mark does. I look at it as a connection for all of our residents. People who shop at Hy-Vee might go to Walmart right after that, or the kids from the high school might go to the coffee shop that's going to be over there. I look at the pluses. Yes, there's minuses. There's an expense in there, but we haven't sat down with the county and actually had those discussions. I know they did. I did get a letter from the county commissioner that they were seeking a grant from the Met Council for $813,000 or $816,000, which might have offset, maybe some of our expenses.
Thank you, Mary. And I'm going to start with you, Mary, on this final question. Are you willing to sit down and have discussions with other project stakeholders, including the City of Stillwater and Washington County, to further this project?
Oh, I'm always in favor of sitting down and having discussions. I think you'll get your questions answered more clearly when you sit down and talk with it, whether it's the county, whether it's Stillwater. It could be on this project. It could be, talking with Bayport. We do joint services with the fire department. I think there's more value for sitting down and having those open conversations, and it could be more productive. Not that you're going to have the right answer, but just to have it respectful and get the understanding of what the other positions are.
Thank you. And Mark?
I think, I'd be willing to sit down and talk to anybody about it. And, this comes down to communication. So one thing that it's always been one of my pet peeves, making sure everybody gets all the information the same way, delivered the same time, and nobody voices an opinion that, this is what Oak Park is saying, or this is what the county is saying. I think that information trail has to come through as a group message. If it comes through as one person saying, Councilmember Swenson or Mayor Swenson, the council is going to support this, when the rest of the council does not know anything about that. I think it's that kind of communications that can really hurt a project or even, basically kill a project if there's misinformation put about it. How we pass that information through, how we sit down and have the meetings, not meetings with one or two people, you have meetings with the group. I think that's how you get a good information going through. And I think that's what happened to this project. I think there was meetings that happened where everybody didn't know all the information that was happening with it.
Thank you so much. We're going to start with your closing statements now, and we'll start with Mary. And Mary, you have a 1-minute closing.
Well, thank you again for allowing us to speak with you tonight. I've really appreciated being mayor the last 8 years. It's been a great learning experience. We've had a great council. A lot of different things going on in the city. Every day there's something different. It's never dull. I feel really fortunate to have had this position and to serve the city. And I look at that as serve the city. Some people say, well, you're politicians. I don't particularly like that term. I look at it as a public service. I'm here to serve our public. I appreciate the faith that everybody's had in me over these last years, and I respectfully ask for your vote.
Thank you. And Mark?
I guess people don't want door knocking this year, so it's been a real different way to try to get out and talk to people. So, I got the Facebook page set up so you can kind of come through and you can get people's responses back on what you're thinking. One of the things that I keep getting pushed back on me is that when I was on the council before, I was kind of the voice of reason. I'm a very common sense and common knowledge kind of person. I don't try to hold secrets. Sometimes you forget to tell somebody something. We all do that. But just the method that I deliver my final product is it's going to be local. Mary she's done a very good job leading from the state level and getting things that a lot of people don't really know how to do. And I commend her for that. She's always been very good at that. I want to keep stuff local. I want to keep us more in Twin Park. Get a better relationship built up with our higher ups, with the legislatures and our senators, and get them moving from their level. Because right now we don't get the support that we need from them either.
Thank you. Thank you, Mary and Mark. The Gazette Forum organizer, Margot Reinberger, would like to thank Valley Access Channels for graciously enabling us to hold rare in-person forums this year in their studios and for their high-quality production work on these forums over the years. Valley Access Channels will have replays of this cablecast on Channel 16 and online replays up until the election. And on behalf of Managing Editor Matt DeBow of the Stillwater Gazette, Timekeeper Beth Johnson, and myself, thank you so much for joining us.